Spring has sprung. It's almost done, and Richrod and company are about to make some massive cuts to this roster.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host around here. This is Locked On West Virginia. We talking some football today, some foosball, if you will. A little West Virginia football. How's that sound to you? With a little basketball sprinkled in. Appreciate you guys for joining. 5 Hour Energy sponsors us on this episode. Guys, you can find over 15 flavors to choose from 5 Hour Energy. If you need one now, grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We talk about your team every single day. Thank you to Raven in the comments as a moderator today. Thank you to Shaq in the comments as a moderator today if he comes in. And thank you to those of you here joining via X, via YouTube, etc. Rich Rodriguez had a press conference today, and as usual, it was eventful. So did Michael Neyswander, however you say this guy's last name. I think it's Neyswander, former Alabama Crimson Tide football player. He had some really interesting things to say about working with Richrod. You know, I love getting these little nuggets from these guys that have been with Richrod for a few years. And we learned a lot about the upcoming process and how they're going to do things and how they're going to decide who stays and who goes, guys, because that's what's going to happen. You guys remember a few years back when Deion Sanders cleaned house at Colorado and brought in a whole new roster. Does anybody remember that? And now here we are in 2025 preparing for it to happen at West Virginia like it's nothing. It's funny how far we've come in a few years because Deion, and let's just be honest, guys, let's be fair. Deion got drugged through the coals over that when all he was doing was what Richrod's about to do, but it wasn't, nobody was used to it yet, right? Deion saw the portal for what it was and is, and it's a business decision. And you can't always keep a guy that deserves to be here. And unfortunately, that's the situation we find our Mountaineers in heading out of spring after they do these exit meetings. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to look back at the roster again, give you guys some players that I put on watch. Doesn't mean they'll get cut, but I've got some intel from a few people and who's been playing well. They had a scrimmage yesterday, ran around 90 plays. Who played well? Who stuck out in that scrimmage? We're going to talk about that too. And talk a little basketball. There's one thing I want to address, nothing much. Could West Virginia get the best player in the portal or one of the best players in the portal? Vanderbilt star. Could. They very well could. He's got a history with Coach Hodge. Let's get started. Richrod at his press conference today, and I was pleasantly surprised that I think he referenced us here on the show because I looked for over the last few days. I was the only person that really spun his last press conference into, which was a big thumbnail that I made, which I might be able to find it. Let's see if I can find it right here. It's going to be really way back there, though. Let's see. Let's see. Well, anyway, it was Richrod basically, you know, talking about the roster, right? And how I felt like he kind of went in on the roster quite a bit, you know. Not just a little bit, a lot. I think the what did I say? Richrod slams the roster. That's what I put. Yeah. And I felt like that. And then he said that that was taken out of context and no coach is happy with their depth this time of year. And most coaches are worried about experience and things like that this time of year. And I felt like maybe it could have been us here that brought that up because it was a pretty, I admitted on the show that maybe it was a little bit too dramatic for what was said in his press conference. And I know I have a tendency to do that. The way YouTube does things, unfortunately, people don't click on videos unless they're enticing to look at and click on. And so, you have to get good at that craft or else you'll get left in the dust. It's just a flat out fact. So, what I do is I just try not to lie. As long as I don't feel like I'm lying, I'm good. All right. So some things that Richrod said in his press conference today are, see, I'm backwards here. So spring ends April 5th. April 7th through the 12th will be their exit meetings with the players, where they'll be in the truth rooms, as he called them. They're going to have a cut up of their best and worst 40 plays or 50 plays to show them. And basically, this is going to what they're part of the things. This is going to be part of one of the things they use to, let's say, I feel like you shouldn't be on the team. Okay. And I'm going to show you your worst and best 40 plays. Obviously, there's going to be some bias in it because, I prepared it or one of my staff has prepared it probably to look like, because we're going to go into this. Think of it like this. Let's say we're on a coaching staff together and we want to get rid of Jaheim White. Let's just say Jaheim White, since we know he's not going off there. And I come to you and I say, you know what? Make a cut up of Jaheim, throw a couple good ones in there, but let's show him exactly why. I mean, I'm just trying to think of this logically. How do you do it? Show him exactly why we feel like what he needs to work on so we can kind of justify why we need him to go, right? Or we got to cut him. I mean, this is what this is, all. This is roster cuts. There's no pretty way to say it. It's a purge, and some players that are probably decent to good are going to get cut. It's just a fact. I don't like it. You don't like it. Coach Rod doesn't like it, but it's a necessary evil in today's world that we live in. April 7th through the 12th are going to be these exit meetings, and then the portal opens on the 15th, 16th, according to Richrod. Like I already said, they ran a 90-play scrimmage. He said he was unhappy with the depth of the roster. That's what he said. It's not necessarily the good players. They're probably good. It's the behind the good players. It's after you get past quarterback 1 and 2, or it's once you get past running backs 1 and 2, or it's maybe once you get past offensive line 1, the center or guard or tackle or name it. There's just not the depth. And sure, could a guy play well, but you don't know because they have no experience. Offensive line, there's almost no experience in our offensive line. So he said, we're not deep enough. We're too inexperienced. We need more competitiveness to try to figure out who we can separate here these last few days. Have to be honest with the players in the truth room is something he brought up. All the quarterbacks are really good right now, and eventually by the summertime, he thinks will be an extension of the coaching staff. That's the goal, to get them there. No issues with quarterbacks or anybody else on the team working with, quarterback gurus or anything like that. Like, he's okay with it. And we heard Neil Brown kind of wasn't. So that's a shift. He said by the time revenue share kicks in, they got to be back to down to 105. And that's going to be done in July. There's going to be a cut up of everyone's top plays and use it to tell the guys what to get better at, and if they're cut, why. So let's go over a list here really quick as we head towards break of players that could be. Actually, you know what? Let's shift real quick. Well, we'll do that in a set. We'll do that after the break because we've got about a minute. Let's talk about the list of quarterbacks. This is something that was brought up at the end of the press conference. The list of quarterbacks that if they've stayed with Richrod for 2 years, that have been really good and been all conference players, there's a lot. And I'm sure I'm missing some. Check this out. Woody Dantzler, Sean King, Pat White, Rasheed Marshall, Khalil Tate, Denard Robinson, Tyler Huff, and the list goes on and on. Too bad Garrett Green's not on that list. I do think Garrett Green would have been Richrod's perfect type quarterback, and Garrett Green could have been a Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year in this offense. But Timing is everything in this life, y'all. Let's go to break really quick. On the other side of break, I'm going to tell you who stood out because there were some players that did in today's 90-play scrimmage. And I'm also going to tell you who probably might be getting cut or who's got a shot, who's going to be close, right? Who's going to be close to on that chopping block. Stick around, guys. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by Nissan. We're all about the stats. Numbers never lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the whole team, plus the gear, wherever you go. It's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room for up to 8 people, the Armada Pro 4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the Coliseum to watch a WVU game, the Armada Pro 4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, but you can learn more of that today at nissanusa.com. And where would we be without our friends over at FanDuel? March Madness is here. We just watched an incredible game with Texas Tech and Florida. FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before in the action. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's if you win that $200 in extra bucks, and you can use it on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and everything, even who's cutting down the nets. You can bet on that. Pick your favorites. I've got my eye on a few underdogs this year, not many left, and FanDuel makes it easy to get back with spreads, totals, and game props. Guys, go to FanDuel.com today and get in on the college hoops action because it's going to be going on all tournament long, baby. Segment 2. Let's crack a code red. Yeah, that's right. I have a code red tonight. Nobody can judge me. You wouldn't believe the comments I get over the Mountain Dew. Tell me, they say, Paul, you're killing yourself. I see a question in there, chat, about Chester Frazier, and I'll address that just because. Where do I go? What do I say? I stuck my foot in it. Dark on it. I'm going to say, guys, that I want to appreciate Coach Frazier for what he's done for the university in lieu of the absence of everybody else, right? He's really been kind of some glue to stick, to give some offers and stuff. But I don't think he's going to stay. And I have no proof to show you today, but I got some rumblings today and there's a lot of people that know this. I'm not the only one. Virginia Tech, among others, on the table for him. So while it's not completely out of the woods yet, he could certainly, Coach Hodge could offer him the job still. I think it's still possible, but I've heard the Virginia Tech name a couple times today from 2 separate people. So, and these are both people that one of these guys was on one of the West Virginia staffs in the last 5 to 7 years. Another guy was in the Country Roads Trust. And another guy's a media member. I forgot about the other guy. So 3 different people, man. So, I think if that many people know Virginia Tech's an option, then how many more do, right? So it could be leverage. It could be a lot of things. I don't know. I think he'd be great for a great start on the basketball team, absolutely. But I honestly don't know what's going to happen. I've just heard that today. That's the news that I've gotten. Also, the North Texas staff will be rejoining Ross Hodge, and I'm probably going to do a video on that tomorrow. I'm still doing research on some of these North Texas coaches. They've got some interesting cats there. They got one guy that's been a very successful head coach. He might have more success as a head coach than Ross Hodge does, just at lower levels. So we'll talk about that. Michael Neyswander. They call him Coach Nice. I do know that. He had a press conference today, too, and we're going to talk about that in this segment. Before we do, let's get to this roster. We'll talk about the standout players from the scrimmage, because I think that's probably like what a lot of people are excited about. If you would have heard anything about this specific episode, Brayton Siders continues to kill it this camp, I'm told, and told he played really well. He's really been a pleasant surprise coming out of Wyoming, and that's great to hear because I think we need him. He's going to be playing that bandit, guys, and we need that pass rusher. He's 6'2", 240, so he's a big guy, more wide. He's very wide, in my opinion. He is going to be a super important player. We know that. And I'm going to be excited to see. Jamoy Robinson has been dealing with some injuries this season or this spring, guys. But I'm told he has looked absolutely phenomenal at times. When he's healthy, he's almost unblockable, schooling our offensive linemen in a lot of cases. And I'm told that he looks like a dude, just like Michael Coach Jr. just looked like a dude at times at corner. So it's the same suspect. These are all transfers, but we've got 60. What are the odds, that they're not going to be? And look, we talked about Nico. We talked about Rodney on here before. We talked about other guys like that were already on the roster that have looked really good. Nate Gabriel was a guy that, that's been on the roster that looked really good in the past. So, not surprised that we've seen that. Tom McGuire Moss has looked really good at snapping the ball. Offensive line-wise, Xavier Bosley continues to lead that room, I'm told. There are guys in that room that are probably going to be pretty good at some point, like a Robbie Martin, but you just don't know what you got in a redshirt freshman, right? And it's tough. So the best five going to play, though. Believe that. Walter Youngbear's steady, I'm told, so that's good to know. Jalen Henderson, Nico Markio both continue to look really good at times and have these wow moments. So, and there are a couple others. Who do I have written down here? A couple other. Oh, yeah, Cam Vaughn. Cam Vaughn's had a really, really, really solid camp, guys, and spring. That's not surprising. He's probably the best wide receiver in the room overall. And then I'm told Rodney Gallagher's looked really good. So, proving me wrong so far. So, we'll see what continues to go on there. Cyrus Traw, another guy that has looked good at times, I'm told. So that's fun. But what we really want to know is who might not make it. And those are a little bit sadder, right? Because you want guys to make it and you want guys to play well and not get cut, right? First of all, a lot of the guys that get cut when we're trimming down to 105 are going to be – some of those guys are going to be walk-ons even, I think, and unfortunately. And I don't know if, do they count towards the roster limit or not? I don't remember. But I do know that a couple of those guys are probably going to be cut. So as my cat jumps up behind me again, apologies. Can't control it. So probably to start, guys, there's a couple guys that are younger players that are going to be good at some point in time, like an Aiden Fleming or somebody like a Nasai Bell that, there's just a lot of players in those rooms, and you just don't know if they're going to get to play, right? And I think Richrod and company are going to have to really search to try to find guys that can fill those spots, because at this point in time, they really just don't have the scholarships to play with at 105. Sounds like a lot, but it's really not. Judah Price, I think is another one. I don't know. I don't know if he's on scholarship or not. I thought he was a walk-on, but, he's another one that I would expect to probably look for other opportunities, and it's sad because I like him a lot. I'm told that Chris Henry at safety is another one that might have to look elsewhere. Not saying that he will. Like I said, none of these guys are for sure, guys. These are just guys I'm told that, when you're adding 2 and 2 together, like they're pretty far down the depth chart. They haven't performed super well during the spring, or if they have, it's been hit and miss, and maybe need to seek out other opportunities. TJ Johnson's another one that I wonder about. I don't have any intel on him, and I do know his dad really well. Had him on the show. That's another one, guys, that I'm not 100% sure on. And unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of good players that could perform, but like especially a guy like TJ Johnson, he's a redshirt sophomore. You would think that if he was going to hit, it would be happening this year. So if he hasn't yet, maybe it is time for him to move on. I don't know. Maybe he needs to change the scenery. I had a lot of hope for him coming out. I had him on Mountaineer Paul Talks Football when he first came out of Oscar Smith. Obviously, his dad was a good tight end for us. His brother may be one of the best receivers in the country. Probably going to sign with Michigan, unfortunately. Of course, Travis Savage, and I worked on him for years, guys, trying to get him to come here, but not happening probably. So it's unfortunate, but that's where we're at. Let's go to break really quick. On the other side, let's talk a little basketball, because West Virginia has probably got a shot at one of the very best players in the transfer portal. We'll talk about that next.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
And this episode is going to be also brought to you by none other than 5 Hour Energy. Guys, I appreciate you for hanging in here for this one. Daylight savings snuck up on us again, and if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power you through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament game like tonight, or squeezing in that extra round of golf after work, you just need to keep up with your busy day maybe. 5 Hour Energy gives you the quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Whether I'm at a game or traveling, 5 Hour Energy is easy to grab and keeps me feeling refreshed. Head over to 5hourenergy.com to find 15 flavors to choose from. Fedane, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12 or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy at your local grocery or convenience store, because they're everywhere. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. They're never, ever, ever going to leave you alone. He's even got a wiretap on your phone. All right, guys. So let's talk transfer portal a little bit here. There's some really good players out there, right? But none better, maybe, than one of the best scorers from the SEC this past year in Jason Edwards. He hit the portal, and guys, I mean, this is a kid that absolutely crushed it last year. 35% from three, 45% field goal percentage, an elite handle, an elite offensive bucket getter. And it's a guy that you could see on at West Virginia. There will be a 1-for-1 almost replacement for Javon Small, and that's not an exaggeration. This guy averaged almost 20 in the SEC, and really carried Vanderbilt to what they became. And I'm told West Virginia they're going to have a shot at him. I'm not saying they're going to get him, because I saw one tweet. Now I don't know that this is just one tweet. It was a Vanderbilt. It was a Vanderbilt account. Let me see if I can find it. That said he was asking for $1.5 million to stay at Vandy. If that's the case, he ain't going to end up at West Virginia. But I haven't seen anything to substantiate that yet. So let's see. Let me see if I can find that. I haven't actually, what I needed to do was to check and see what the account looked like. Not size doesn't always matter when it comes to X accounts, but sometimes some of the smaller accounts have great info. But yeah, there it is right there. Vandy 62. It looks like Jason Edwards wanted $1.5 million to return to Vanderbilt. I hate that we are losing him, but we can find lots of good players with that amount of money. It's got 12 comments. So this is an account with 12.5 thousand subscribers. So it doesn't always mean 100% that person is right, even with the larger numbers. I mean, look at other accounts like in the West Virginia space that have big numbers, but it definitely lends more credence to it. And, some people get bad info, but I mean, 1.5 is a lot. It's really, really, it is a lot. And he's only 6'1" or whatever, 6'2". So I don't know if defensively he makes sense for us at that price point. Kind of need to be a two-way player. But, man, if he's, the Ross Hodge connection is there, guys. And he's obviously played with Coach Hodge at JUCO before. So we'll see. He helped make him who he is. And I'm excited. I would love to see us take a swing at the kid. I think he'd be a great player for us. Obviously, it'd be fun. Now, if it's 1.5, see ya. We're not getting involved in that. That's almost our entire NIL from last year. Well, about half or so. I don't know. I heard a number today that I don't know. I need to check more on. But, yeah, generally speaking, guys, I think, like we said earlier on in the episode, my mascot's asleep back there. You see her? I think, I don't know. I think the roster cuts are coming, man. And I really want to know who's going to be on the roster come summertime. That's really where it's going to be at for me. That's where it's going to be at for me. I need to know who is going to be there. I want to know where the roster is going to end up. I want to be able to analyze that final 105, whoever it is. And then we're going to kind of know more about what we got. Something else Richrod said today that kind of caught my attention was he thought they were going to be really good at Jack State last year, and then they started off 0-3, and then they ended up being really good. He's going to try to learn from that, he said. So we'll find out. I think he said he kept all his notes from last year. What could you do better or different? I mean, there's so many variables that go into it. Just think, I said this before, but just think what two coaches do, right? Let's take off two coaches from that team that recruited and had players come in that were their players. If you just take those two players off, that flips anywhere from 7 to 15 extra players, right? That maybe you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Just the point is there's so many variables. Literally one coach could be the difference between they would have recruited these other players instead of the players you actually got. And that stuff right there mind F's me. Like it really does. When I start to think about with football, because there's so many players involved, when you look at some of the better teams that we've had, you switch out one coach or, one player here or there, and who knows which way it could have went. So I don't know, guys. We'll see what happens. Appreciate you for joining. It's Saturday. It's not a Friday news dump or anything, and not a lot of news to talk about tonight. We did our best. Covering those press conferences is fun for me. I like to try to read between the lines with Richrod. He's coming off pretty paranoid. Honestly, one thing he said in that press conference was, he feels like he can't praise anybody because they're worried about tampering on to that level. That's insane, guys. You can't even mention a player at a press conference because you're worried about tampering. Let's go over while we got about a minute or two. Michael Neyswander, however he says it. I'll get it down and figure it out. Tight ends coach / fullbacks coach had some pretty cool stuff to say. One of the best things, I almost did an episode on it, but there just wasn't enough meat on the bone. He compared Richrod to Nick Saban, said they run very similar programs. They're very similar types of dudes from a blue collar and worker standpoint. And I found that to be really, really cool. It gave me some hope for this, right? Just my thoughts. He said that the tight ends were a good group, very competitive. You know what's crazy? Not one person asked him about Greg Ginross. I couldn't believe that. You got a guy in that room that's a physical freak of nature. Nobody asked him anything about it. I don't know. To me, it's like that was the first question I wanted to hear. He said everybody needs to get in better shape because they don't want to sub. So, that, of course, right? He said they're going to probably work in multiple tight end groupings, which means 11, 12, probably 13 personnel every now and then, but definitely 11 and 12, which is just, whether it's one or two tight ends, guys, that's all that means. 11 is 1, 12 is 2. Coach Rod utilizes the offensive talent around him the best he's ever seen. He said the biggest adjustment for the players is the tempo. They did mention Jacob Barrick. He realizes that he has to perform and re-win his starting job that he had last year. I do give him the inside track to win it this year, by the way. He said it was his childhood dream to play at West Virginia, but he has to earn it. So we'll see if he does. He says his recruiting area will be Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia. Those are going to be where the areas he's recruiting in. And that's all I had written down on him. There wasn't a lot of meat on that bone with Coach. And, welcome him to the program. Absolutely. He seems like a good dude to coach the tight ends with, and we'll see where it goes. That's really all I got, guys. The roster is about to get hammered here in a couple of weeks. We'll keep track of that. When we start seeing guys leaving the portal, it doesn't mean it's doomsday. It means the coaches probably told them to go. That's the era we're living in right now. Like it or don't. So keep an eye on that, guys. And hopefully we don't take too many big losses, but we're going to lose some good players too. It's just how it goes. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll get lucky this one time, but let's try to keep some continuity for once. I don't got much else. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, guys. Locked On College Basketball. Obviously, that's the place to be right now. Your heads they head towards the Final Four. Check them out. Andy Shade, Isaac Patton, doing an excellent job getting you ready for March. Better than anybody else around. Check out Locked On College Basketball wherever you get your podcast or right here on YouTube. I'll see you guys on the next one. I'll be live again tomorrow. We're live 7 days a week here. We're trying to stomp the competition completely out. That's what we're trying to do. Nobody else can keep up with 7 days a week. Nobody. I don't give a shit. Nobody's keeping up with 7 days a week. And if somebody does, I'll do 2 or 3 videos a day until we stomp everybody out. I'm dead serious about that. I want to be the biggest and best West Virginia YouTuber that there is. I don't care who likes it. I don't care who don't. I don't care who it offends. I don't care who's in agreement. I'm just letting y'all know that's my mindset on this. And I'm a very competitive person. And there are people that think they have some kind of, but they want to challenge it, whatever. Do what you can do. Like there are people that have more subscribers than me. There are people that have a few less. But at the end of the day, man, nobody's going to outwork me here. And if you guys want to go on that ride, let's go on that ride, because I'm going to stay true to you guys. I'm going to stay true to myself. That's all I can do. And I love it here. I love doing this. Other people have full-time jobs. I have this. So we'll see who wins in the end. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great one. I'm out.